What's up, good people?
What's up, good people, and welcome back to the Elephant Wisdom Podcast. I am your host, Hark Joseph L., CEO of Sons of SP Phillips, and I must advise you that the Elephant Wisdom Podcast is your podcast for motivation, inspiration, and domination, so dominate or don't, it's up to you. Before I forget, go ahead and like, follow, and or subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening from. And follow us on our social medias at Facebook, IG, and now Threads, and even on X, which I think we're going to get rid of that pretty soon. All of those at Sons of SPP. And follow our content on our TikTok page at SPP Media, where you see content created for Sons of SP Phillips, the Elephant Wisdom Podcast, the Two Harks, the Thursday Podcast, 5 on the Black Hand Side Podcast, and more. And pretty soon we'll be coming up with our own website. We're still working through it, where you're going to have access to our podcasts and our photography pages and a whole lot more, where you can get to us a lot quicker and interact with us in a different way. We're also going to offer some podcast basics courses for those who want to start a podcast and just want to know how to do it as simple as possible. We'll guide you through that. And we're also going to offer some courses on editing audio and video. And we use all Adobe software. So if you want to sign up, that is what you're going to need. So just stay tuned for that. It'll probably pop up on one of our social media sooner or later. We haven't bought the domain yet. We're still working out a little kinks here and there, but it's definitely coming. If you've been with us for a while, you might remember episode 7 from last year at this time in November, Pathways Forward, Logistics and Opportunities for Reentry. And we sat down with my good friend, or better yet, my sister, Tomiqua Perry, to talk about second chances, resilience, and the power of logistics as a pathway to opportunity. Now it's a year later, and we're back with Tomiqua, and she has been very busy. From building new partnerships to expanding her dispatch training program, she's turning vision into movement. This episode is called Dispatching Hope. Inside the logistics training movement with Tomiqua Perry, we dive into how logistics isn't just about moving freight, it's about moving lives forward. So settle in, because today we're talking about transformation, entrepreneurship, and what happens when reentry meets real opportunity. And before we get into it, I have to let you know this episode is brought to you by none other than Sons of SP Phillips. Sons of SP Phillips is an online boutique that sells new and very, very slightly used designer and name brand clothing for men and women. Also some custom t-shirts and sweatshirts and fashion accessories. That's www.sonsofspphillips.com, where you can get 70% off on most items daily. Any purchases over $45 means I pay the shipping for you. So that's www.sonsofspphillips.com. Get there today. $1 Million Style for the $100 man. Giving style and attitude a dress code, and inspired by the people and motivated by the culture. Sons of SP Phillips. www.sonsofspphillips.com. Tomiqua Perry, thank you so much for coming back to be on the Elephant Wisdom Podcast. It's been a year this month since the last time we recorded about your program, Pathways Forward, Logistics and Opportunities for Reentry with Miss Tomiqua Perry. So in this past year, a lot has changed.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. In a good way, but yeah, a lot has progressed. A lot has progressed, yes.
Right. So tell us what's changed and what's happening now with Pathways Forward program.
I remember when I was here with you before, and I was just talking to you about how it was a vision that had been placed on my spirit to do, but I really wasn't certain how to go about doing it. And we were in the beginning stages, right? But the goal was, and I think I had just had the realization of like how successful a path could be if somebody that was coming home was getting into the industry, just based off of what I had been doing, working with felons as independent carriers. Okay, so fast forward to today, I got plugged in with the Department of Rehabilitations and Corrections, or Corrections and Rehabilitation, the State Department, doing reentry work by way of a 50th birthday party in Hocking Hills.
Wow.
And it just kind of like snowballed. One person said, hey, talk to this person. This person said, hey, let me plug you here. so on and so forth. So current day, the class is going steady. I'm still doing general public courses, but right now I am so close, just maybe a couple weeks out from solidifying a partnership with the Franklin County CBCF, which is the community-based correctional facility based here in Columbus, Ohio, off of Allen Creek. And they are really considered the reentry hub for Franklin County in regards to people that have an opportunity to go into their program versus having to complete their full prison sentence. And their primary goal is to make sure that everybody that's coming out of the facility comes out with some kind of certification. So again, because of networking, I landed in front of these folks, pitched, and we're just ironing out the details to start in January of 2026. So I'm blown away as how quickly things have gone in 12 months. Like when I really, because I don't stop and think about it a lot of times, I just am forging forward. But we've been trying to get this, podcast together the past couple of days, and when I was thinking about it today, I was like, man, I think it was like a year ago. And I had to think about the growth in the last year. Like, so much so, Joe, that first God was like, before you do anything, I need to build your confidence back up. So I'm going to send you out into the world to sell a plant-based multi-purpose cleaner in Sam's Club. You're going to do 10 live infomercial presentations per shift. 4 days in a row from Friday to Sunday, right? 3 days in a row, right? Thursday to Sunday or whatever. And I did it for 6 months and made great money, but really it was to hone me so that I could get in these rooms and talk to these people and pitch my product and my brand and the passion in a way that's articulate enough that they'll feel it and they'll pick it up, and it worked. So that's where we're at.
Right. And let's also inform the group that your first class was free and I took it.
Yeah. So, I had partnered with the Columbus Empowerment Corporation last year and did a couple of free courses with them. And then she picked us up again. And we did one. When was that? When did we do our class?
That was September, or I think it was September.
It was September,
or maybe
right?
early October.
Yeah. Something yeah. Like so it wasn't quite October. It was September. So September, that's Kim Knight with the Columbus Empowerment Corporation. And she does workforce development kind of stuff and entrepreneurial, giving people platforms to learn how to do different skill sets and whatnot. And she's all about small business and anybody that's looking to start their own business or, do some trainings and things like that. So she has helped me over the years, different ways. And then again, now in the logistics field. And yeah, you just did the course. So what'd you think?
I'm still trying to apply some of it.
Yeah.
Because something else came in the way. So I'm trying to see how this works. And I'm going to maneuver around that before I really get started. But I'm still watching video, getting into it. It's informative. And the one thing that I got out of it. So the young lady I was sitting next to at the table, after our first class, after our first week, I was talking to her and I said, I drove up to see my mother who lives a couple hours away. And I said, and I started thinking about what Meek was teaching us about trucking and logistics. And I said, I'm seeing a semi. I just saw a gooseneck. I said, that was a box truck. I said, now I just saw a flatbed. And I'm seeing all this stuff going. And I said, I see commerce. I see money going up and down the highway. And the way you explained it, you explained the project, how the system works about getting the driver, the logistics, and talking to a broker and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this is money me cutting me off in the lanes on the highway. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow. So when I came back for our next class, I was charged and energized. I said, I got to get this. And it was ironic because when I got home, I was talking to my brother-in-law and I said something about it. He said, oh, yeah, your cousin is talking about getting into that. And he said, I think I want to do it. And I said, well, once I sort it out, we can work something out. If they'll do that, I don't know. But, it's out there. And, I even referred it to my godson because he's a convicted felon. And he's trying to keep himself on the straight and narrow. So I thought it was great.
I love what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
We are launching around the same time that this episode drops. I'm going to package it all together. Our freight brokering track.
Okay.
So for December, that will be offered. So somebody for the course, that the dispatching class that will already be offered in December, because I try to do them monthly for the general public, anybody that just wants to take the course, right? Whether it's a free sponsored course from somewhere or it's a paid course that, people have to jump in and pay on their own. But we want to be able to offer, the dispatching course and now the freight brokering track as well. So the idea behind it is to give people just, a solid foundation. And I know I spoke on this in our last show because it's really the premise of what I'm doing. If you're going to get into the industry, you absolutely need to know what you're doing. And knowing how to dispatch your own freight and your own equipment, if that's what you're going to do, is cool. What you want to do is go in as a broker. I partnered with a broker here in Columbus. He helped me create this track. And those partnerships are getting me somewhere. It's not meant for me to know and do all things. It's meant for me to build relationships. And now that I've really fully understood the importance of that, that's what I'm doing. And it's amazing. Like what's going on at CDCF, they already have an existing CDL program with one of their partners. My freight broker or freight dispatching and freight broker tracks are going to complete that. So somebody can come in there and go through the full track. It's going to take you 2 weeks to get through my portion, another 4 weeks to get your CDLs, 6 weeks time right before you go home. You walk out the door with all these certifications and licenses. And we have some employer partnerships where we can push people to go ahead and get the jobs they need. Or if it's the entrepreneurial end of it, then we can help with that as well. So resources are available. Humbly, we're going to kill this next year. We're going to kill it.
Right. So from the participants, other than myself, what has the response been? Have you been receiving any feedback? Let me ask you this. Has there been any feedback from anyone to include anything extra or maybe something that you missed?
Yeah, so there's some things that folks have suggested that I incorporate with like the FMCSA and what they're looking for when they're dealing with your first DOT drug test or any kind of just information wrapped around. You just had to do one, didn't you?
Yeah, for this other position, I had to do one.
Yeah. So to add in some information about that. And then just last night, because I'm in the middle of teaching a class this week, a young lady suggested that I throw in tax information for people that are going to be bringing authorities under them or bringing owner-operators under them. So instead of a W-9 being filled out, that's where you would explain about 1099 work and what that would look like. So I do get some feedback. And, I do want to incorporate, a little bit more information, everything that comes my way, if it makes sense to do so. All I want to do is like fatten up the training, as much information as possible. From a year ago to now, we've also added the CDL learner's permit. So the last day of the training, we're going over anything that you're going to need to know about taking that learner's permit test with the BMV before you can go get your CDLs. So just trying to make sure, we can prep. The whole idea is to prep people as well as possible before they get behind the wheel, before they decide to start their own dispatching service, before they go and apply to get their broker as an MC or their MC as a broker.
Right. So over the year, what has surprised you the most about the journey? Was it the speed that it picked up or just the opportunities that presented itself?
Yeah, I think how everything unfolded. Not surprised because God is the most amazing artist ever.
Mm-hmm.
So like the way that everything has come together, I don't think surprise is the word. It's more like awestruck. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
How this is starting to flow. And then too, like on a personal level, just how much my faith has had to strengthen, because in real time almost I'm being proven wrong if I was to think ever God is going to forsake the project. You know what I mean? Like, to place it in my spirit for me to execute. So yeah, not surprised, just like amazed.
Yeah.
I think you know what, I might be surprised at the genuine feedback I'm getting from the community, the reentry community, about the program. Like, I've always known I'm passionate about the work, but being put in some of these rooms and being able to pitch and people really like understanding the value of what I'm bringing to the table, that's a pleasant surprise.
Right.
Especially after working in some arenas here in the city where that's not the energy that you get, you know? So it's really been pleasant for people to embrace me the way that they have, and then want to like see me succeed. So like, yeah, we're going to get this off the ground, but I also want to introduce you to these people over here too, because there's more opportunity. What else can we do? How else can we utilize you? So I just feel like I found my lane and my purpose all at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. When we get to talk, having conversations about God putting things in motion for you, I've been in those spaces, and I've had friends in those spaces. And then, you know, if you're going to pray for something, you're going to ask for something, you better be ready for it, because it'll get there right in your face. And if you don't take advantage of it when you're supposed to, you're going to miss out. I think that's really what happened to you. He said, okay, you asked for it, I'm going to give it to you. Don't drop the ball. You have not dropped the ball. You've been running with it and doing some great things with it. Now, the Ridge Project, is that part of the Franklin County?
Yeah, the Ridge Project is one of the CBCF's partners.
Okay.
And yeah, just because I haven't signed paperwork, I don't really want to mention too much. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's where we're at with it. Like, they're involved. CBCF is involved. They have an existing partnership, and the Ridge Project is an amazing organization, nonprofit organization, where their whole premise is to build families up and maintain strong family structures, strong marriages, and that they go into prisons all through the state of Ohio, teaching this ideal that, you know, families can persevere through even the most horrific circumstances. So within their programming, they have some workforce development training and certifications that they want to make sure people have access to. So yeah, I mean, excited is like an understatement. I mean, these people are really like bringing me into the fold when they don't have to. So to just have that kind of environment and that kind of support, you know, for somebody to see you like, hey, I really understand what you're trying to do here. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to this partnership. Every time I go into the facility, that's what I hear. We're looking forward to this partnership. We're really looking forward to working with you. We want the people to, you know, start to familiarize themselves with your face being here. The programs come in. I'm speaking to the inmates on a regular basis, and folks are just excited to be able to take the course, you know, which, I mean, I want it to be that, you know what I mean? Amongst the conversations, I want people to say, you know, CBCF has this program, Perry Logistics, and they're killing it. You know, this first year, we'll see how everything goes. But, you know, I'm taking the opportunity. If you tell me I can get into every CBCF across the state and I can help as many people as possible, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
So that's, you know, that's the ultimate goal.
So also, I kind of want to ask this. So it sounds like you just also, because with Franklin County, the Ridge Project, seems like you guys are building a serious, I guess, like an ecosystem that's going to go further than just employment. You're not just like saying, hey, when you get out of jail, this is what you can do. But it sounds like adding the Ridge Project to it. They're saying, hey, this is what you can do. But I guess they're kind of going to be there with them after the fact to make sure they're still successful, especially as something that's helping them take care of their families. Am I right with that
As
assumption?
far as like resources after the program is complete and people
Yeah,
are,
like mentoring and things like that.
yeah,
Because it's going to be a grind before they like really pick it up.
yeah. Yeah, so understanding that if that's the route they're going to go, if they're going to go the route where they want to be an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, there's some follow up opportunities and resources that on my end I want to keep track of, and then the Ridge
Right.
Project has their own way for tracking their success stories. So yeah, now as far as employment is concerned, the entire premise behind the employer partnerships that we're creating is that once these people come out of these trainings, ideally what we want to do is tap into these companies and even set up some pre-release interviews so
Mm-hmm.
folks can, be really proactive about setting themselves up for success as soon as they walk out the door. And if not pre-release, then, within a week or two, you have an interview that's set up for you to go and apply for, interview for a position. And, we're creating this situation where these people can utilize these workers that are willing to get out here and get back into the workforce and get back into society productively. And they don't have to worry about paying for the training to get them together. They're work ready. So
Right.
in this specific industry, so what we're really trying to do is just create a really strong training to certificates to employment pipeline. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always going to push for that. But I am honest with people, like that's the hustle. There's a grind there. We're going to give you those resources to get that off the ground as much as we'll give you resources to find a job. But yeah, yep, it is a hustle and it will be a grind. But folks, I don't know. You just, it's this particular community. Obviously, they want an opportunity to do something productive. They want an opportunity to make really good money. So if you put it in front of them, you're like, here, it's just a step-by-step process. You have to have the discipline to execute it, then execute it and see what happens for you. You know what I mean?
Right. So what makes this such a powerful and pivotal entry point for those looking for reentry? Is it just because like I would assume that with reentry it's difficult to find a job like as soon as you get out. I think a lot of people struggle with that. But is it also the point that it gives them purpose of the entrepreneurship, the ability to have a sense of ownership as it expands, and does it also give them any marketable skills?
Well, yes. Specifically to the marketable skills. People that are coming out with one number or multiple numbers, one felony conviction or multiple felony convictions, I think it's pretty common knowledge across the board that they have even more hurdles to clear when it comes to securing employment or just being able to take care of themselves and their families, right?
Right.
This is a thing.
Yes.
The thing that's going on and has been going on for however many years. Like it's a big business, it's a machine. And people are constantly going into the system and then being spit out back out into the world. And a lot of them don't have the resources, right? So because the logistics industry and the transportation industry and trucking industry is felony friendly, and in my experience working with felons in this industry, I felt like there was a void to fill. I saw an opportunity to like bring this industry to the forefront so that people could understand that, yes, you can get your CDLs and you can go drive and that's cool. You can also dispatch. You can also become a broker. You can start your own service if that's what you want to do as a dispatcher or a broker. You can get a job doing that if that's what you want to do. You can start your own trucking company if that's what you want to do. The point is to compile all that information and very neatly and effectively translate it to the people that want the information. When they leave out of the class, they're going to know how to negotiate rates. They're going to know how to do a little bit of light bookkeeping, even because you're having to deal with invoicing with your factoring and whatnot. They're going to know how to communicate effectively and professionally with people that are within the industry. They'll know how to draft a professional email when they're dealing with these brokers. They'll know how to really essentially build a business if what they're going to do is go into service for themselves, because a dispatcher is more hands-on with the money that's flowing for a trucking company than anybody else. So
Right.
if they take it seriously, yeah, some people will come through the course, and I've had, not many, but I've had folks that are just like kind of floated through. It just wasn't for them and they didn't pick it up. Some folks really pick up the industry. They find their way in one way and they're like, man, but I learned how to do this like 3 or 4 months ago. And, it's on your resume and we have this, certificate of completion to show it. And you can tap into that whenever you're ready. It makes you more marketable within the industry as a whole. Not only do you know how to drive the truck, you have a license, you know how to keep the truck moving, you know how to keep that money rolling, you know about all the admin end of it. You know what I mean? So it's just, I just think I don't know why. I just think it's a really good fit for folks, man. I really do. For a lot of people, if it's the route they want to go.
Right. So a couple key things I just picked up out of your conversation, especially when you said marketable skills. You said negotiation, bookkeeping, and effective communication.
Yes.
And those are, and this is just knowledge for anybody who's like listening, trying to wonder like, what's this all about? On any job site, these will, at least 2 of these will pop up in the job description. Uh-huh. Bookkeeping or something like that will pop up if you're like searching for an accounting position or whatever. So these are definitely skills that you learn and make you marketable that you can expand on, especially once you're successful in this business, in this industry. And then, you also said that once they get acclimated, you kind of alluded to it, once they get acclimated, they can pretty much start their own business with this and have people working under them.
Yes.
So then you learn payroll.
Yes.
that's almost like that's like HR.
And then you're learning team building skills.
And
then you're learning management skills because now you're managing a team under you. Like it's just, yeah, it definitely can lead to a lot of other opportunities. I don't know if do you think on the last time we were here, did I break down like all the things that I have done since I started doing it independently?
I don't know, but I was going to ask you to walk us through a journey.
So I tell people this and they're like, but are you a felon? And I'm like, no, but I'm working for the same companies that hire felons. I'm in the same industry. So no, I'm not a felon. I don't have a record. Transparently though, I also don't have a degree. I've been an entrepreneur since my mid-20s. So, I don't have a degree. And although it is something I'm trying to obtain slowly but surely, it's just not pressing to me because my skill set, right, and my experience at this point gets me in the same doors and earning the same pay that, somebody that went to school and acquired all them loans, which really, not ideal.
And I was going to add that too, because like the way things are running, on applications, they're saying degree preferred, but they're not, I've talked to a lot of people who say, nah, we don't really care about that. If you got the skills and
that's what it is. If you have the skill set. So I started doing this. I took a class just like mine, I found a lady, she was cold blooded with it and she was doing classes and it was right around 2020 COVID. So a lot of people were getting into the game with box trucks. What she taught me applied to every piece of equipment because she was dispatching and owned semi trucks. And I applied what she taught me to the box truck game. And that's what I specialize in to this day is box trucks. I've booked for semis and flatbeds and hot shots too, but primarily box trucks. And I've built out a few different box truck companies, a few different fleets. So, but it all applies. All the information in the course applies to any piece of equipment. All the rules are the same. It just depends on whatever equipment that you're pushing. There might be some tweaks that you need to look at if you're doing a box truck versus a flatbed or what have you. But I started out with box trucks, and by the time I was done with her course was a week long, I had 2 clients, and we hit the ground running. And I hustled from there. I got my third truck probably like 90 days later, and I was getting ready to walk away from it. And take a job. And as soon as I had decided to take the job, I was living with a lot of anxiety. And then as soon as I decided I wasn't going to take the job, the anxiety left and the third truck showed up. Right. So I took that as a sign, like, okay, we're going to keep going. So I did. And I think at my busiest, I had 6 trucks, and my health wasn't right. Like, I wasn't sleeping, and it was just too much for me. So I had to make a decision, like, how do you want to expand? How do you want to grow? Right? Because obviously there's an opportunity here for growth. You see this, and you're good at it. And this is what I'm seeing, right? So I'm like, all right. So from there, I said, I don't want to grow a dispatch service. That's not what I want to do. I want to teach. And I went to my mentor, and I said, how would you feel if I created a course with your inspiration and your guidance geared towards teaching people how to do box trucks? And she gave me her blessing. So I created my course, and I decided to grow in that direction instead. So I started teaching, and I was booking, and then I left Columbus. And before I left Columbus, I was down in Georgia, came home for a funeral. Some things were going on, and then I ended up landing a gig here that was accounting. It was called a freight auditor for a brokerage. And they looked at my resume and saw that I had never had any industry experience, that I had just started from scratch on my own, and they offered me a position. And then it turned into remote, and I took it back down to Georgia, and I was working that and booking and teaching, living in this house in Georgia for like 1.5 years, almost 2 years. While I'm down there, God is like, hey, your vacation's over, go home. And I'm like, all right. And stuff started shifting down there that was making me uncomfortable. And I was like, yeah, it's time to go home. So I listened to God very clearly, and I asked Spirit, what do you want me to do? And Spirit was like, I want you to follow up with those people that you interviewed with last year that went on a hiring freeze and wasn't able to hire you. And it was Forward Air. And I was like, all right. So I got in touch with the people that I had been talking to the year prior and was like, you guys happen to have anything open? And they passed me along to somebody that had an opening. So then I talked to the hiring manager, and he offered me a position as a flex coordinator dealing with partial loads, right? And one-off projects. And they brought me back to Columbus. And again, it was based off of my experience, which was starting the business and then working 1.5 years doing the freight auditing stuff. So I came home and I took that position, and it was hybrid remote. And then they took away the hybrid remote option. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm going to let that go.
Yeah.
So I let that go. And then I went back into working for myself again. And I picked up some trucks, and then God had me selling multi-purpose cleaner. And then now I'm doing what I said I was going to do, which is put this in the prison. So that's over the course of, we're talking about 5 or 6 years. Some people say that's a lot of time, but if you really think about it, that's not a lot of time to get into an industry, knowing nothing, create something from scratch, land a couple of positions, and then position yourself to be teaching this in this machine within this, you know. So it's God led, it's purpose. I've been asking to be able to be put in a position to be able to help people in a drastic way, in a positively drastic way, for years. It's all I've ever really wanted to do was assist. So I keep saying I'm excited. That's not even the word. It's just like, it's amazing what is happening. And we're just on the cusp. We're on the brink. Like, I was walking through Franklin Park the other day, Joe, praying to God, right? And Most High said clear as day, like, I'm going to grow this so big for you that you're going to hire felons to train your curriculum. I was like, wow. This shit broke me down, man. This man was walking by me asking if I was okay because I'm leaning on a tree crying like, wow. It stopped me in my tracks. It's like, that's going to be the ultimate goal. You keep trying to, I think small sometimes, I'm like, I just want to get a sprinter van and allow somebody to like work. You know what I mean? Let me just give an opportunity or two. No, God is positioning me to change lives. with this. And I'm, man, overwhelmed sometimes. I'm just ready. I don't even know how to explain.
Yeah. So how do you feel about, so you like say some people, they're just kind of floating through and maybe it's not clicking for them. What do you think? What do you think you can change, in the future? Because, people are going to slip through the cracks, but, the goal is not to. So what do you think you can add to make people see that this is more than just a job and it's more than a career? Like for you, this has become a passion for you. It's a passion on top of an underlying passion because you like to teach. That was like the first thing you told us. I like to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And this gives you that opportunity and to get back in front of people and help people is the second thing you just said, to give them the information. And, I worked in the classroom. You don't get every kid. You don't. But you always want to try. And what are some techniques that you might try going forward? Just to catch maybe those one or two.
I think what I want to do is make sure that I add, because I want to create this more into a cohort versus an educational training. And with the cohort, there's like support that's going on within the training itself. Whether you couple people up, pair them up, and then you have an accountability partner through the course.
Yeah.
And then I also want to be more hands-on with talking in depth with what the vision is. Why are you taking the course to begin with? Let's really talk about that. Because then maybe in those one-on-ones, I can really tailor what those resources look like instead of doing a general resource email where everybody has access to the same stuff and you kind of leave it up to that person to be able to tap in, right? I already make myself pretty available to anybody who takes my course forever. I call myself a forever resource. But I think really honing in one-on-one with people about what it is that they want to do with the information once the class is complete, and just kind of like really trying to make it a little bit more personable with the resources that are given to them so that their particular vision can come to light. But outside of that, I tell people when I start the class, I'm going to really pour into you. And anytime opportunities come my way, I'll pass them on to you. And I try to do that as often as I can, especially as I'm getting more plugged in. I said, but I tell people if they don't have a hustle to do it, the determination and the discipline, it doesn't matter how much I pour into you. It doesn't matter if I do a one-on-one. It doesn't matter if you have an accountability partner. It's only going to matter if your mindset is there, if you're really going to decide to do this or not, right?
Right.
Because there were days where I'd make $300 in a week, or I'd make $1,800 in a week. And it just would have to depend on how much I'm hustling to make sure that I can get this consistently coming through the way it needs to. So, it's not to say that I'm not perfect. There's always room to add more information. And as I learn in the industry, I think that's why the training is so rich and developed as it is, because as I've learned, I'm adding more and more and more to the training. Like, this is more information that you guys should need before you even step into the arena. But adding that cohort component, though, that one-on-one and then that accountability partner, I think that's how I want to flesh the trainings out moving forward.
Right. I think one vital key point for me was the role playing. And I think that goes a long way for this industry, because number one, you had us talking to each other, and I think that was beneficial because even though I built a little relationship with the young lady I was sitting next to, I built one with the dude in the back of the room,
right?
And vice versa, So having people try to negotiate with each other about what we want to do and how to do it, I think that's really beneficial, because once they start doing it, they're going to be talking, and that's another skill, relationship building.
I think too, what I want to add in too is that we do a load board demonstration that's fairly thorough. Utilizing the load boards is just like muscle memory, though. Like you build it up. Once you start using them, you just understand how they work. So the demonstration is good. But I really like the idea of being able to do a live demonstration on the board where I'm actually able to call a broker. And I've not been able to do that for some time because the courses are always in the evening and the
Yeah.
brokerages are closed. So I've been trying to figure out how to get around that as well, because I think hearing a live conversation coming from me would be like so critical, so critical to add into the class, like to be able to hear it flow and how they're going to sound, because you never know what you're going to get. So that's
Right.
like on the fly, you get to be able to see in real life time. So yeah, I think, add something like that in there too is something I want to do to polish it up. Also, now that we're talking about it,
Yeah.
I also have thought about, I've been thinking, Joe, I also have thought about bringing in guest speakers, like brokers that are
Yeah.
working in the industry, or a dispatcher that's working in the industry, or even a CDL driver that's working in the industry, and bringing them in and giving them an opportunity to just speak to the, the classroom, or if we're doing Zoom or what have you, and incorporate those into not just the general, or not just the classes within the facilities, but like general public as well. And being able to do like a Q&A with a real life broker or something like that. So I've been thinking about that too. And that's all about collaboration and building those relationships, because I can't do it all, but I can damn sure link some people up.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be great, especially if they had a broker come in and just kind of say, this is what I do and this is how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to convince me and give me a reason to talk to me in a certain way that'll make me want to make those adjustments for you. Got to make it make sense. And like I said, that's another skill, relationship building and effective communication. Those are those keys that you're teaching these people who may not have these skill sets that can really carry them a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's fantastic. I really do. I think it would have helped me a little bit if we had maybe had that. I mean, we were early class, but it still was a great class because you put me in the right direction of what videos to watch, and I'm still watching a couple of them when I can, and I know what I'm going to do when I do it. So you were saying the load board. So explain what the load boards is, and is there any software that again, we're talking to people who didn't take the course.
So
any
the main
software
load
they might use.
The main load board that the industry uses is the DAT board, the DAT trucker, DAT trucker, DAT1. Yeah, DAT, the DAT board. And that's the main board. They're subscription based. The second backup is Truck Stop. These load boards is where you're going to find spot market freight. So that's going to be anything that isn't going through a dedicated route. So this is one-off freight that brokers are building relationships with shippers, and product needs to be moved. So they post it on these load boards. And as a dispatcher, you can go on and you can find the city that your truck is in. You can do all your filters however you want to, as far as like what kind of equipment your driver is in, how much weight can go on the truck, the length of the truck or the trailer, and then the city that you want to pick up, and any kind of deadhead, if you want to put your deadhead miles. There's just a lot of filters so that it can really hone in on exactly what will fit in your piece of equipment very specifically. And when it comes up, you just kind of look through and see what looks like it needs to be touched on. And then you call the broker and you book your load, and it's an easy way to find the freight. Now from there, every time you book a load, you're building these relationships with brokers. So you're building something called a broker stash. And you send an email to those brokers every morning that you talk to the day before, the week before that. Blind copy everybody, because they don't, not everybody needs to know their business. And you say, hello, this is where my trucks are at. Do you have anything available today? Can we help you move anything? And 9 times out of 10, once you build that stash up, you're going to have freight coming through there. So you don't even got to deal with the load boards because they're coming directly to you. And all of that happens when you're diligent about building your relationships and you're doing the work. I say 3 to 4 months in, you should have a nice network of brokers that are coming to you pretty regularly to move freight with your trucks. So load boards, yeah. And those two are the main ones: DAT board, DAT, and Truck Stop. And then there's some free boards too that you can kind of get acquainted with if you don't want to pay for that subscription immediately, just so you can understand what a load board looks like, because they're all the same. They just have a different interface, a different website, but they all have the same filters to find freight. Now, once you get serious about what you're doing, you get your first client and you need to book, go ahead and get you a subscription. I have a subscription to the DAT board. I think I have like a medium tier or like the next up tier. I pay $100 a month for my subscription, and then you're gonna make that back your first load you book. So it's worth it to have it. I had Truck Stop as a backup too because of the DAT board is so busy sometimes it'll crash, and then everybody will move freight to the Truck Stop load board. So you could have two, or you could have the one and a free board, however you want to do it. But once you get to the point where you're building relationships, that load board is going to be a backup tool for you.
Okay. So out of this past year in the classes that you've taught, how many have gone on to successful that you know of?
Man, I say offhand, I can think of at least a dozen people that have either started a dispatch service or their team went through my course and their trucking company succeeded. You know what I mean? Like, I can think of 12 people offhand by name that I could reach out to today and be like, how things go? Are you still moving? Or if you're not, what happened? Or that I'm still in touch with today because it's a newer process. They've gone through the course in the last year. So there's been quite a few success stories. I think that's one of, not regrets, but it's just something that I've learned is to keep metrics. So now in the past year, as the course is being put out there, I am keeping a tally of the people that I know have successfully moved into the industry in some kind of shape, way, or form. Right. So and that data is going to help, you know what I mean, with everything that I'm trying to do with these organizations, with the reentry and whatnot. When I first started teaching, I was just keeping track of everybody, having conversations and whatnot. I wasn't thinking about the data because some folks will go through the class and they'll decide it's not for them, especially if what they're trying to do is start their own business. Now, because I have opened up employment opportunities too, and I'm trying to build on that end of it as well, I'm sure the metrics will be different because now you have 2 lanes you can go with this information. You don't have to necessarily start your own business. Not everybody is entrepreneurial set up. That's not everybody's lane at all.
Right.
A lot of folks want to just work a job and punch a clock, and that's cool. I get it. Like, that stability, sometimes I miss it. So I do get that.
Yeah. I had just talked to a friend of mine and her husband, and I was talking to her, and I remembered her husband drives trucks. I was like, oh, hold on, is he independent? She's like, no. And then we just immediately jumped into the conversation about dispatching. And I said, yeah, I just took the course. And she said that he just helped a guy who was driving with him go from actually being a driver to being a dispatcher. I don't know how he did. He's one of those numbers and money guys, but she said he helped him do it, I guess, put him in the right direction to do it. And she said the guy's making more money being a dispatcher than he was driving a truck as a CDL truck driver. Just pushing it forward.
I mean, it's there. It's just, how you go about getting it. That's all it is. So I really am just a catalyst, man. That's all I am. I've always been that, a connector and a conduit. I'm here to bring the information and try to set you up for success. And then everything else from there, of course, I take a great deal of pride in the fact that my resources are growing the way they are, so I can really flesh this out. Because obviously, we don't just want empty certifications. That's what I would call it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you go through, but you can't really do nothing with it. No, F that. I'm trying to make it a full pipeline. And this is what we're doing. We're seeing real numbers. We're seeing real progress out here, real success stories. Right. Even as I'm dealing with this community that I don't know anything about, reentry, I'm thinking 15 people go through an organization, I want to see 15 people succeed. They had to bring me back down to reality. If 15 people go through the training and out via this organization, if we see 1 or 2 people succeed, that's good. And I'm like, what? Yeah, that's a hard reality, man.
Yeah.
That's a hard reality. So I'm trying to, even with understanding that, spending time in the facilities, I'm trying to wrap my head around the wins already. Celebrate the wins.
Yep.
Don't focus on the losses. Celebrate the wins. and stay within your purpose. Don't get frustrated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good business advice, especially for small business or somebody, early entrepreneur. Stop looking for the big wins because they're
Yeah.
not going to come. They're not going to come the first day. They may not even come the first year. If you open your own store or you do dispatching and you only got one client or whatever, and that's bringing you $45, that's $45 more than you had the week before.
Yeah,
Take
it
that
is.
win.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. So, yeah, yeah, it's getting there. All I
Yeah.
can do is, I mean, every day, all I do is just stay low and keep working. And I pray to God
Right.
to, like, just continue to show me that I'm on the right path because, yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see another option except for it to blow up. Like
Right.
it needs to pick up at this point, like I don't want to do anything else. I haven't even tried to look for a job. I'm done with that. Like
Yeah.
I am very, very determined to see this through and to get this in front of these people. And I love the response that it's getting. Like these people that I'm working with are putting my work before judges in Franklin County and letting them know, like, we have this amazing program that's coming up in 2026. And these people are responding to what I'm doing in the most positive way. Like, I would be crazy not to just be patient and watch this come through, And I say that talking to myself as much as I'm telling you, Joe, because, I struggle with patience and
Right.
seeing it
Right.
through, like I'm not in control of it at all. All I can do is keep working, man, and keep helping people. So
Let me ask you this. So as 2025 is coming to an end, 2026 and beyond, you have a goal, virtual you said something about some cohorts. You're going to do some virtual cohorts, mobile classrooms, anything like that? Is that down the
yeah,
line?
I'm gonna continue to push the course online to the general public. So whether
Right.
it's live in Columbus or I'm traveling somewhere to do a live class to the general public or I'm doing virtual, I want to really flesh it out to be more of a cohort style than just
Right.
an educational training, right? So we're gonna flesh that out. Um, we're gonna flesh out what that really looks like to incorporate the broker training into what we got going on, because ideally we're going to do this soft rollout and give people the option to take both trainings, but I really want to get to the point where we're just pushing it as a package as a whole. And then man, 2026, I'm just trying to get it anywhere it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere it can be. And if what we can do is start to really like create paid opportunities for people to come on and learn the curriculum and then go train it themselves. So what I envision is just like you said with your people who we decided to come out of the truck and go into dispatching. He's making more money as a dispatcher than he was in the truck. I really want to give some options to folks that want to stay in the industry but don't want to necessarily drive anymore. You know what I mean? So like, now there's brokering. Yeah, you can broker. Yeah, now you can dispatch. You can do that. Yeah, you can also get with this company, Perry Logistics, and she hires trainers because they go all over the country training people how to do this work. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to grow it out. I really want to grow it out in that way. So that's what I see happening. God's will. God's will. And I'm trying to just be as obedient as possible so I can see it come to light, because I have been known to blow up the spot before I can even see the blessing come.
Right. I've done that a few times myself, and I'm going through my shift and pivot phase right now. So I'm trying to be. I'm not going to say I'm trying. I'm working on being a little bit more obedient. Some things are happening. And I know I got to shift before I can pivot and go in the direction that I want to go. But that's fine. It's what I got to do. And you got to look at where you're at instead of looking past it. So I totally understand.
Yeah. So,
and that's a message for anybody. Look at it.
In
Don't look
any
past
stage
it.
of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had some really dope people in my life here in the last year or so that have really talked me off a ledge a couple of times, man. It talked me down from a serious crash out. Like, just because, I'm having to, what faith is, Joe? Faith is relinquishing control.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a person who's grown up finding security and control, or having control of the situation, based on whatever drama, trauma, hurts, and pains, then when you decide to have faith in what God is telling you, you conveniently forget that means you have to relinquish control. So when you decide to do that, it's just like, man, I can't crash out because I asked you for this.
Mm-hmm.
And, part of the deal is if you ask God for something and then you have faith that he's going to bring it for you, you can't really dictate how it comes about or when it comes about,
Right.
So
and when it gets there, be ready for it.
Yeah, that's just it. You gotta be ready, and that's the extent of it. So yeah, those are some of the lessons that I'm dealing with personally wise, but the work itself, yeah, we're going to keep fleshing it out. I think it's going to always be like a living, breathing project. You know what I mean? Like the training itself, as I learn and want to help, let's just make it even more juicy.
Yeah. And I thing, and you have to be patient, you have to be obedient. And sometimes people think like when you 30, 40, 50 years old, you got stuff figured out. You can't really figure anything out. Sometimes people just work with what they have or what they got and just deal with it. But then there's other people in situations it's just like, I got to figure this out. I'm like, I'm okay with how things are rolling, but I need something to be a little bit more different. Like you said, living in that controlled space. For some people, that can cause a little anxiety, a little depression, a lot of unhappiness. Because I understand that, because it's just like certain things that I'm one of those people who just want certain things to move a little bit different, and tired of being controlled. Stop controlling my days, stop controlling my weeks, stop controlling my life. Let me breathe and do what I want to do and what needs to be done. Yeah. So
we didn't really talk about that too. So I guess I want to put that out there too. Like, part of the passion for what I'm doing is the freedom I'm able to create for myself.
Yeah.
And then, so I want to teach other people how to create that freedom for themselves.
Yeah. That, let me say it like that. For this society and this time, that's a thing. And I think a lot of people are getting it. And I think with social media and the things we have access to now with the internet makes that more available. But you got to know how to do it right. It makes being an entrepreneur a little bit easier, but you got to be one. You got to have that energy. You got to have that focus. I mean, it still takes some work, but the purpose of being free is still there. And freedom isn't just like making hundreds of dollars. It's the freedom is not being controlled. Your mind, your presence, and everything being free and just comfortable in the space that you're in. So yeah, it is. I get it.
It is. Yeah, that's definitely a driving force.
Yeah, it keeps me up at night.
It does. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say I would never take a gig again, because there is like something that's kind of brewing that I'm waiting to hear about, but it aligns exactly with what I'm doing, right? Reentry work. So those kinds of situations, you're like, okay, I would be willing to like sacrifice my time, some time out of a day every day to go do this work, because it still aligns with the passion, right? But if it doesn't align, and again, this is for anybody talking about life in general, if it doesn't align, maybe it's not something you should be taking on, So a lot of us are in a position, I mean, obviously, that we feel like we got to do whatever we have to do to be able to maintain the lifestyle, like whatever level of comfort you're used to, or if you're attaining for more. But I just don't feel like you have to sacrifice joy and happiness in order to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's where I be getting hung up on it. Like, this doesn't bring me joy and it doesn't make me feel fulfilled. So I don't want to keep doing it for years on end just to earn a paycheck.
Right. And they manipulate your thinking with the phrase work-life balance. I think that's just a false construct. I like to say, I need a life-work balance. I live my life. I've got to do And that doesn't mean be lazy, but, you know, just like I said, you just having peace of mind, man. And just,
Yeah.
you got to have it. Because if you don't have peace of mind and having control of certain things and not being controlled, just not going to be happy with whatever you're doing. But like what you're trying to do aligns with what you do. That's a level of comfort for you and a level of peace, because it'll take you where you need to go, and then you can jump off and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you, Meek. I'm always here for you. I understand you.
I appreciate you, Joe, because not a lot of people do.
That's why you're family.
I appreciate you, babe, for real. You and Tosh, for real, because a lot of people don't, man. They don't get where the drive and the determination comes from. They don't understand the discipline. They don't see the vision. And I mean, they're not meant to, and that's okay. That's another lesson that's been learned in life. Like, people meet people exactly where they're at, leave them where they're at, you know, if it's not for you, and keep it pushing. Those that understand what I'm trying to do, like, I mean, I've had some people really show up for me the last 6 months. I don't have a car right now. Like, God has really been moving. Like, I want you to, I want to see if you're going to be obedient, right? And you think it's going to be a month or two, and it turns into 6 months, 7 months. You don't have no whip, and you're working for yourself. And I haven't had to worry about how I'm going to eat or how I'm going to pay these bills at all. That's nothing but God.
Yeah.
And being obedient, you know, and being a good steward over the bread and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But it's cool. It's all those that supported me will all win and eat. That's my point.
Yeah, your girl was a little bit upset with you when I told her, I said that you didn't want to get an Uber, and I said, "Well, I'll come get you." She said, "Why would she think we wouldn't come get her?" She said, "Why would she think that?" I was like, "I don't know. I guess I don't know how to remind her she's family. She needs something.
It's not that I didn't think that you wouldn't. I just was like, well, you do it virtual. I don't know, man. I'm just so used to doing everything from my kitchen."
I got it. Just know
I know.
We're here for you. We're here.
I know.
So, Meek, let us know, how can anyone reach out to you? Social medias, emails. How can they reach out to you to get more information about your program, when it's starting, when it's ending, when classes, everything?
Okay, so the next course will be mid-December. I do them monthly. You can find me on TikTok, Perry Logistics Ltd, Perry Logistics Dispatch. You can find me on Facebook, Meek Perry. You can go to the website, perrylogisticsdispatch.com. And then the email is perrylogistics2021@gmail.com. So reach out to me. Yeah, I do consultations. I do the training. And yes, we are getting ready to launch that broker training as well. So if you're interested in doing a 2-track training, please reach out to me. That marketing material is going to be, created in the next couple of days. We'll have that circulating. And then, the consultations. If you don't really want to commit to a course immediately, but you kind of have some questions and just want a little guidance, please reach out to me. I charge $50 for 30 minutes and $75 for an hour. I will pour into you. I don't care how many questions you have. I'll answer them as thoroughly as possible. And that'll give you a good idea as to if you want to spend more money investing, getting into the industry. The training is designed to help the entrepreneur, whether that's the entrepreneur becoming a broker, becoming a dispatcher, becoming a CDL driver, trucking company, starting a trucking company. But we also have created those tracks for employment as well, so that we have those resources as well. So we're growing. So just get with me. I'll help.
All right. All righty. Meek, I want to thank you for coming on the Elephant Wisdom Podcast. We appreciate you. The mic is always open for you. To the listeners, just want to remind you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram follow at Sons of SPP, to our online store. And also you can get the latest on our podcast, because we're now streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeart. And I just want to let you know that the Elephant Wisdom Podcast is your podcast for motivation, inspiration, and domination. So dominate or don't. I am your host, Hart Joseph L., CEO of Sons of SP Phillips. I thank you for your time. And as always, I ask for you and hope that you continue to get all your goals. And I tell you to continue to pray along the way.
That is the most important component of this whole conversation. Please pray it up.
It most definitely is. All right.